The message from the Veltaran homeworld arrived 3 days before Jake and Zara were scheduled to leave Nexus Station. Zara stared at the official communication on her screen and felt her skin darken with fear colors. "What does it say?" Jake asked, reading over her shoulder. "The Planetary Council has heard about my actions during the reactor crisis," Zara said quietly. "They want me to return home for medical evaluation and possible integration into a research program." Jake frowned. "That doesn't sound like a request." "It is not. They are ordering me to return within 30 days. The message was formal and cold, written in the official language of Veltaran government. It made no mention of Zara's family or her years of exile. She was now considered valuable property that needed to be reclaimed and studied. "What happens if you don't go?" Jake asked. Zara had been wondering the same thing. "They could revoke my citizenship. I would become a being without a home world." "So? You haven't been home in 20 years anyway. It is different when you choose to leave versus being forced to leave forever." Jake sat down beside her. "What do you want to do?" Zara thought about this question for a long time. Part of her had always hoped that someday her people would accept her back. The chance to return home as someone valuable instead of someone diseased was tempting. But she also knew that the Veltarans wanted her abilities, not her as a person. "I want to stay with you," she said finally. "But I am afraid of what that choice might mean." The next day, representatives from the Veltaran government arrived on Nexus Station. They were tall, elegant aliens with beautiful prismatic skin that shifted through rainbow patterns as they moved. Next to them, Zara looked even more gray and damaged than usual. The lead representative was named Velkarasanth II, indicating high status in her family cluster. She examined Zara with the cold interest of a scientist studying a specimen. "You have developed remarkable abilities," Velkara said in the ancient Veltaran language. "Our scientists are eager to understand how your condition has evolved." "My condition?" Zara replied in the common station language, refusing to switch to her native tongue. "Your cellular mutations. We believe they could be replicated in other individuals to create enhanced workers for dangerous environments." Jake, who was present as Zara's advocate, stepped forward. "Enhanced workers? You mean slaves?" Velkara's skin flashed with insulted colors. "The human should not involve himself in Veltaran affairs." "Zara is my friend," Jake said firmly. "Her affairs are my affairs. This being was cast out of civilized society 20 years ago," Velkara replied coldly. "She has no claim to friendship or protection." Zara felt something break inside her as she listened to the Veltaran representative dismiss her humanity. These were her people, and they still saw her as nothing more than a useful object. "I decline your offer," Zara said clearly. Velkara's skin shifted to angry red patterns. "This is not an offer. It is a command from the Planetary Council." "Then, I formally renounce my citizenship," Zara said. "I choose to remain here with beings who see me as a person, not as property." The Veltaran delegation left the station angry and empty-handed. Commander Stone, who had observed the entire exchange, approached Zara and Jake afterward. "That was a brave decision," Stone said. "But you know this means you can never go home again." "This is my home now," Zara replied, looking around at the station where she had found friendship for the first time. "Actually," Jake said, "we're still planning to leave for the human colonies, if you'll have us." Stone nodded. "I've approved your transfer requests. There's a transport leaving for Nu Geneva Colony next week. They're always looking for skilled maintenance workers and data analysts. New Geneva was a human colony world known for its diverse population and accepting culture. Many different alien species lived there alongside humans in integrated communities. The week before their departure passed quickly. Zara finished her work assignments and said goodbye to the few beings on the station who had been kind to her. Dr. Park gave her a medical file documenting her unique biology in case she ever needed treatment. "You're remarkable, Zara," Dr. Park said. "Not because of your abilities, but because of who you are as a person." On their last night at Nexus Station, Jake took Zara to the observation deck to watch the stars. It was the same place where they had shared many conversations over the past months. "Are you nervous about New Geneva?" Jake asked. Zara considered this. "I am nervous about many things. About living in a new place. About whether other humans will accept me. About whether I will know how to be happy. How to be happy. I have never been truly happy before," Zara admitted. "I do not know if I remember how." Jake took her hand gently. Her skin immediately warmed with soft gold and blue colors. "I think you're already learning," he said, watching the patterns flow across her skin. The transport to New Geneva was a human ship with a mixed crew of humans and friendly alien species. Zara was nervous during the journey, but the crew treated her with casual kindness that reminded her of Jake's initial acceptance. New Geneva was beautiful. The colony had been built in harmony with the planet's natural features, with cities that blended seamlessly into forests and lakes. Different species lived and worked together without the tensions that existed on larger stations like Nexus. Jake and Zara were assigned quarters in a residential district that housed many interspecies families and partnerships. Their neighbors included human-alien couples, single beings from various worlds, and even a few other exiles who had found new homes among humans. Zara found work with the colony's quantum computing division, where her unique abilities made her valuable, but not unique. Several other beings with unusual talents worked in the same department. For the first time in her life, being different was not something to hide. Jake continued his maintenance work, but he also enrolled in engineering courses at the local university. His goal was to become a full engineer, so he could work more closely with Zara on complex quantum systems. 6 months after arriving on New Geneva, Zara realized that her skin had permanently changed. Instead of the dull gray she had carried for so many years, her skin now showed constant patterns of contentment, soft blues mixed with warm golds, and occasional flickers of joy-bright silver. "You're happy," Jake observed one evening as they walked through the colony's central park. "I am," Zara said with surprise. "I did not think it was possible." "Why not?" "Because I spent so many years believing that I was broken, that I was someone who could not be loved or wanted." Jake stopped walking and turned to face her. "And now?" Zara looked around at the peaceful park, at the other couples walking together regardless of species, at the life she had built with someone who truly cared about her. "Now I know that I was not broken," she said. "I was just in the wrong place with the wrong people." That night, as they sat together in their shared home, Zara asked Jake something that had been on her mind for months. "Why did you choose me?" she asked. "When everyone else saw someone to avoid, why did you see someone worth knowing?" Jake thought about this seriously. "I guess because I know what it feels like to be overlooked, to be treated like you don't matter," he paused, "but also because you're genuinely wonderful. You're intelligent, kind, brave, and interesting. Anyone who couldn't see that was missing out. Zara felt her skin warm with the deepest gold patterns she had ever displayed. I have never been called wonderful before. Then you've been around the wrong people your whole life. A year later, Jake and Zara had become one of New Geneva's success stories. They worked together on advanced quantum projects, lived in a home filled with both human and Veltaran cultural items, and had built a circle of friends who valued them both. Zara had learned to trust not just Jake, but other humans who showed her consistent kindness. She discovered that humans as a species had an unusual ability to see past surface differences and find the person underneath. One day, a young Veltaran arrived at New Geneva Colony. She had the same gray, cracked skin that Zara once had, and the same frightened expression of someone who had been rejected by her own people. Zara and Jake met her at the spaceport. "Welcome to New Geneva," Zara said gently, her skin showing welcoming patterns of soft blue and gold. "My name is Zara, and this is my partner Jake." The young Veltaran stared at Zara's colorful skin in amazement. "But you are like me. How are you showing emotions?" "Because I am happy," Zara said simply, "and you can be happy too." As they walked toward their transport, Jake watched Zara take the young alien under her wing. She was passing on the gift that he had given her, the knowledge that being different was not the same as being broken, and that somewhere in the galaxy there were people who would see her true worth. That night, as Jake and Zara sat together in their garden watching the two moons rise over New Geneva, Zara realized that she finally understood what it meant to be cherished. It was not about being perfect or beautiful or normal. It was about being seen, accepted, and valued exactly as you were. For the first time in her life, Zara knew that she was home. The reactor alarm began screaming at 0300 hours on a quiet Thursday morning. Jake woke up in his quarters to red emergency lights flashing and the station's computer voice announcing a critical malfunction in the primary power core. All maintenance. Staff were ordered to emergency stations immediately. Jake pulled on his uniform and ran through corridors filled with panicking aliens. The situation was bad. The primary reactor was overheating and the automatic safety systems had failed during the night. Chief Engineer Rodriguez briefed the maintenance teams in the main engineering bay. "We've got maybe 2 hours before the core reaches critical temperature," she said grimly. "The quantum control matrix is completely fried. We need to manually regulate the power flow, but the radiation levels are off the charts." "How off the charts?" Jake asked. Rodriguez checked her readings. "Lethal to most species within minutes. Even with full protective suits, we can only work in there for short periods." The engineering teams began suiting up in heavy radiation gear, but Jake was thinking about something else. He remembered Dr. Park's words about Zara's unique immunity to radiation and toxic compounds. "Chief," he said, "what if we had someone who could work in there without protection? Someone immune to radiation?" Rodriguez looked at him like he was crazy. "There's no such thing as radiation immunity, Martinez." "Actually, there is." Jake explained what Dr. Park had discovered about Zara's cellular structure. She could interface directly with the quantum systems without any protective gear. Rodriguez was skeptical, but the situation was desperate. She agreed to contact Dr. Park and the station commander. Within an hour, Zara found herself in the engineering bay surrounded by humans in radiation suits. She had never been in this section of the station before. The reactor chamber hummed with dangerous energy that she could feel in her bones. Dr. Park had confirmed that Zara's unique biology would protect her from the radiation, but she would still need to work quickly. Even her enhanced resistance had limits. The quantum control matrix needs to be recalibrated manually, Chief Rodriguez explained, pointing to a complex array of crystalline circuits. Normally, we'd use remote tools, but the radiation has damaged all our equipment. Zara studied the damaged systems. Her years of working with quantum data processors had given her deep knowledge of how these systems operated. She could see what needed to be done. "I can fix this," she said quietly. Commander Stone arrived just as Zara was preparing to enter the reactor chamber. He looked angry and worried at the same time. "Martinez, this is insane," he said to Jake. "You're risking an alien's life based on medical theories." "She volunteered," Jake replied. "And Dr. Park confirmed she can survive the radiation." "What? About the alien? Does she understand the risks?" Zara stepped forward before Jake could answer. "I understand perfectly, Commander. If I do not do this, the reactor will explode and kill thousands of beings on this station." Stone looked surprised to hear her speak so confidently. Most aliens deferred to human authority figures, but Zara was stating facts without fear. "And you're willing to risk your life for people who've treated you badly?" Stone asked. Zara thought about this question. It was true that most beings on the station had been cruel to her, but Jake had shown her kindness. Dr. Park had treated her with respect. There were others worth saving. "I am willing to risk my life because it is the right thing to do," she said simply. Jake insisted on staying as close to the reactor chamber as safety would allow. He would monitor Zara's progress through the radiation-shielded observation window and maintain communication with her. "You don't have to do this," he told her as she prepared to enter the chamber. "Yes, I do," Zara replied. "This is something only I can do." Jake took her hand briefly. Her skin flickered with brave gold colors mixed with determined blue patterns. "Be careful in there," he said. "I will." Zara entered the reactor chamber alone. The radiation was so intense that the air itself seemed to glow. She could feel the energy washing over her skin, but it caused no pain. Her unique cellular structure absorbed and processed the deadly radiation like it was harmless sunlight. The quantum control matrix was more damaged than she had expected. Several primary circuits had completely burned out. She would need to reroute power through backup systems while simultaneously recalibrating the core temperature controls. Working quickly, Zara began rewiring the damaged circuits. Her hands moved with practiced precision as she connected quantum pathways and adjusted energy flows. This was work that would normally take a team of engineers hours to complete. She had to do it alone in less than 30 minutes. Through the observation window, Jake watched her work with growing admiration. Zara moved through the deadly radiation like it was nothing, completely focused on the complex task. Her skin had taken on patterns he had never seen before. Deep concentrations of silver and gold that seemed to pulse with the rhythm of the quantum systems she was repairing. "Her skin is interfacing directly with the quantum matrix," Dr. Park observed, checking her scanners. "I've never seen anything like it." Other station personnel had gathered to watch the unusual rescue attempt. Many of them were seeing Zara clearly for the first time, without the prejudice that usually clouded their vision. The diseased alien they had avoided was saving their lives with abilities none of them possessed. 25 minutes into the repair work, Zara ran into a problem. One of the backup circuits had suffered cascade damage that she had not detected initially. The repair was taking longer than planned, and she could feel the first signs of radiation fatigue affecting even her enhanced system. Zara, Jake's voice, came through the communication system. "How are you doing in there?" "The damage is worse than expected," she replied, not stopping her work. "I need more time." "Your radiation levels are approaching dangerous limits," Dr. Park warned. "Even for you." Zara knew the doctor was right. She could feel her body working harder to process the increasing radiation exposure. But she was close to completing the repairs. The reactor temperature had already begun to stabilize. "I can finish this," she said firmly. Commander Stone, who had been watching silently, stepped closer to the observation window. "Martinez, order her to come out now. That's a direct command." Jake looked at Stone, then at Zara, working desperately in the glowing chamber. "No, sir." "What did you say?" "I said no, sir. I won't order her to leave. She's the only one who can finish this repair, and she's chosen to see it through." Stone's face turned red with anger. "You're disobeying a direct order, Martinez." "Yes, sir, I am." Inside the reactor chamber, Zara completed the final connection. The quantum matrix came back online with a soft, harmonic hum. The reactor temperature immediately began dropping toward safe levels. "It is done," she said, and collapsed. Jake was the first person to reach her when the radiation levels dropped enough to allow entry. He knelt beside her unconscious form and felt for a pulse. Her skin had gone completely gray again, but she was breathing. Dr. Park ran a quick scan. "She's alive, but she pushed herself to the absolute limit. Another few minutes in there would have killed her." As they carried Zara to the medical bay, Commander Stone walked beside Jake. "You disobeyed a direct order," Stone said quietly. "Yes." "Sir?" "You risked your career for an alien?" Jake looked down at Zara's peaceful face. "I risked my career for someone I care about." Stone was. 3 weeks after the solar storm, Zara began teaching Jake about Velterran culture. It started when he asked why she had 3 names instead of just one, like humans did. "Zara is my individual name," she explained as they sat in her office during his lunch break. "Keth is my family cluster name. 9 is my position in the birth order." Jake nodded thoughtfully. "So you were the 9th child born to your family group?" "Yes, but that is not the whole meaning." Zara hesitated, then decided to continue. "The number also shows how connected you are to the cluster. Higher numbers mean stronger bonds." "But you said your family abandoned you." Zara's gray skin seemed to darken slightly. "When I was cast out, my connection number should have changed to 0. But I kept 9 because I hoped someday they would accept me back." Jake was quiet for a moment. "Do you still hope for that?" "I used to," Zara said. "Now I think some bonds are better broken." Jake had been learning other things about her species, too. He discovered that Velterrans communicated as much through skin color as they did through words. Different color patterns showed emotions, intentions, even complex ideas. "What would happy look like?" Jake asked. Zara tried to remember. "Bright, gold mixed with soft blue, like sunlight on water. And sad? Deep purple fading to black." Jake looked at her gray skin. "What does gray mean?" "Nothing," Zara said quietly. "Gray means the connection is broken. It means the person is cut off from life." That evening, Jake went to the station's library and researched everything he could find about Velterran biology and culture. What he learned made him angry. Velterrans formed deep emotional bonds through both color communication and physical touch. They were highly social beings who needed connection to be healthy. Zara had been denied both forms of connection for 15 years. The next day, Jake came to her office with a new question. "Would you teach me your color language?" Zara stared at him. "You want to learn how to read Veltaran emotions? If you're willing to teach me. I know I can't change colors like you do, but I'd like to understand what they mean." No one had ever asked to learn about her culture before. Most aliens barely tolerated other species' customs. They certainly did not go out of their way to understand them. Zara began teaching Jake the basic color combinations. She used images from her computer since her own skin could not demonstrate them. Jake was a quick learner and genuinely interested in the subtle differences between similar shades. "This is incredible," he said, looking at a pattern that meant deep trust between friends. "You can communicate all of this just through skin color?" "It is more than communication," Zara explained. "It is connection. When two Veltarans share colors, they share emotions. It creates bonds between people." Jake was quiet for a while, studying the color charts. Finally, he asked, "Do you miss it? Being able to share emotions that way?" Zara had never admitted how much she missed it, not even to herself. "Yes," she said simply. "What about touch?" Jake asked gently. "I read that Veltarans form bonds through physical contact, too." This was harder for Zara to talk about. Touch had been forbidden to her for so long that she had learned to live without it. But Jake's question brought back memories of being very young, before her family realized she was different. She remembered her mother's hands stroking her head, her siblings curling up next to her during sleep periods. "I have not been touched by another being in 20 years, she said. Jake looked shocked. 20 years? But you're only, what, 35? 33. I was cast out when I was 13. Zara, that's horrible. Touch is basic. Everyone needs physical contact. She shrugged, trying to seem like it did not matter. I learned to live without it. But Jake was shaking his head. No one should have to live without basic affection. That's not living. That's just surviving. A few days later, Zara was showing Jake how to calibrate a quantum data processor when her hand slipped and brushed against his. The contact was brief, less than a second, but it sent a shock through her entire body. Jake noticed her reaction immediately. Are you okay? Zara pulled her hand back and stared at it. The brief touch had awakened feelings she had buried for decades. Need. Longing. A desperate hunger for connection that she had forced herself to ignore. I am fine, she lied. But Jake had seen the expression on her face. Later that day, he came, back to her office after his shift ended. I've been thinking about what you said, he began. About not being touched in 20 years. Zara tensed. I should not have told you that. I'm glad you did. Jake sat down across from her. I want you to know that if you ever want to, shake hands or anything like that, it would be okay with me. Zara looked at him in surprise. You would not be disgusted? Why would I be disgusted? You're not diseased. You're not dangerous. You're just different. The offer hung between them for several minutes. Zara wanted desperately to accept, but she was also terrified. What if touching someone after all these years was overwhelming? What if she could not handle the intensity of physical contact? I do not know if I remember how, she admitted. Jake smiled gently. It's just touch, Zara. You don't have to remember anything. Slowly, carefully, Zara extended her hand toward Jake. He met her halfway, letting their palms touch for just a moment. The effect was immediate and powerful. Zara's gray skin suddenly flickered with color. Not bright colors, but faint hints of blue and gold that had not appeared in 15 years. She gasped and pulled her hand back, staring at her skin in amazement. "Did you see that?" she whispered. Jake was grinning. "Your skin changed colors. It was beautiful." Zara felt tears in her eyes. She had thought her ability to show emotions through her skin was dead forever. But Jake's simple, accepting touch had awakened something she thought was lost. Over the next few weeks, Jake and Zara became more comfortable with casual physical contact. A hand on the shoulder when Jake was explaining something. A brief touch of fingers when they passed each other tools. Each contact brought more color to Zara's skin. Other beings on the station began to notice the changes in her appearance. Some were curious about why the Greyville Terran was showing color now. Others were suspicious of her growing friendship with the human. Commander Stone called Jake in for another meeting. "Martinez, I'm concerned about your relationship with the alien," he said bluntly. "Some of the crew are saying you've become obsessed with her." Jake kept his voice calm. "Zara is my friend. I don't see how that's anyone else's business. When it affects crew morale, it becomes my business." Stone leaned forward. "Look, I understand you feel sorry for her, but you're letting sympathy cloud your judgment." "It's not sympathy," Jake said firmly. "It's friendship. She's intelligent, interesting, and kind. If the crew has a problem with that, maybe they need to examine their own prejudices." Stone's expression hardened. "I'm giving you official notice, Martinez. Tone down this relationship or face disciplinary action." When Jake told Zara about the meeting, she felt her skin darken with worry colors. "You should listen to your commander," she said. "I do not want your career to suffer because of me." Jake shook his head. "My career doesn't matter if it means giving up the best friendship I've ever had." That night, Zara could not sleep. She kept thinking about Jake's words and what they meant. He had called their relationship the best friendship he had ever had. She felt the same way, but she had never imagined that someone like Jake could value her company so highly. She also worried about what would happen if he was forced to choose between his career and their friendship. She could not bear the thought of causing him to lose his job. But when Jake visited her the next day, he seemed more determined than ever to maintain their relationship. "I've been thinking," he said. "Maybe it's time other people on this station learned what I know about you." "What do you mean?" Jake smiled. "I mean, it's time they saw that you're not the diseased alien they think you are. You're Zara. You're brilliant with numbers. You know more about interstellar shipping than anyone else here, and you make the best coffee recommendations in the galaxy." Zara felt her skin warm with golden colors. "You really see me that way?" "I see you exactly as you are," Jake said, "and what I see is someone worth knowing." For the first time in her life, Zara felt truly seen and valued by another being. She was beginning to understand what humans called love, though she did not yet have a name for the feeling growing in her chest. All she knew was that Jake had given her something she had never expected to have, a sense of belonging. The solar storm hit Nexus Station without warning on a Tuesday morning. Zara was working at her desk when the lights flickered, and the station's emergency voice began speaking over the communication system. All non-essential personnel were told to stay in their quarters until the storm passed. Zara had lived through solar storms before. They usually lasted a few hours and caused minor power problems. She saved her work and prepared to wait it out in her small office. But something was wrong with her air recycler. The same unit Jake had fixed a week ago was making noise again. But this time it was different. Instead of the loose rattling sound, it was making a high whining noise that hurt her ears. Then it stopped completely. The air in her office became thick and hard to breathe. Zara checked her door, but the storm had triggered emergency locks throughout the station. She was trapped. She tried to call for help on her communication panel, but the storm was interfering with signals. Her calls would not go through. The air was getting worse. She could taste something metallic and bitter. The recycler was not just broken. It was leaking something into her air supply. Zara sat down on her floor and tried to stay calm. She knew that panic would make her breathe faster and use up what clean air was left. She closed her eyes and waited. The door burst open 20 minutes later. Jake ran in wearing an emergency breathing mask and carrying another one in his hand. "Zara!" he shouted. "Are you okay?" She tried to answer but only managed a weak cough. Jake knelt beside her and put the breathing mask over her face. Clean air filled her lungs. "The storm knocked out the safety systems on this level," Jake said as he helped her stand up. "Your recycler started leaking toxic gas. We need to get you to medical right now." Jake half-carried her through the corridors to the medical bay. Other aliens in the hallways looked at them with surprise and disgust. A few made comments about the diseased Veltaran, but Jake ignored them completely. Dr. Lisa Park was waiting in the medical bay. She was a human woman with gray hair and kind. "Hands!" She helped Jake put Zara on an examination bed and immediately began running tests. "How long was she breathing the toxic air?" Dr. Park asked. "Maybe 20 minutes, Jake said. "I got there as fast as I could." Dr. Park frowned at her scanner. "Readings. That should have killed her. These levels are lethal to most species." But Zara was alive. Weak and sick, but alive. Dr. Park ran more tests while Jake paced around the room. He refused to leave even when other medical staff suggested he should go. "I want to make sure she's okay," Jake said. 3 hours later, Dr. Park called them both into her office. She had a strange expression on her face as she looked at Zara's test results. "This is remarkable," she said. "The gas that leaked from your recycler contains compounds that would kill most aliens within minutes. But your body processed it like it was barely harmful." Zara did not understand. "What does that mean?" Dr. Park showed them the scanner images. "Your skin condition is not a disease. It's an adaptation. Your cellular structure is completely different from other Veltarans. You're immune to radiation and toxic compounds that would be deadly to the rest of us." Jake leaned forward in his chair. "So she's not sick at all?" "Not sick," Dr. Park confirmed. "She's evolved. This adaptation is probably incredibly rare among her species. That's why her skin looks different." Zara stared at the doctor. For 15 years, everyone had treated her like she was diseased and dangerous. But she was not sick. She was different in a way that made her stronger, not weaker. "My family," she said quietly. "They abandoned me because they thought I was sick." Jake's face darkened with anger. "They abandoned a child because of how she looked?" Zara nodded. In Veltaran culture, families formed groups called clusters. When a child was born with obvious defects, they were often cast out to prevent shame to the cluster. Zara had been living alone since she was barely an adult. "That's horrible," Jake said. "How could anyone do that to their own family?" Dr. Park prescribed rest and clean air for Zara's recovery. Jake insisted on walking her back to temporary quarters in the medical section. Her office would need to be cleaned before she could return. "Thank you," Zara said as they reached her door. "You saved my life." Jake shrugged. "Anyone would have done the same thing." "No," Zara said. "They would not have. Most beings would have let the diseased alien die." Jake looked troubled by this. "Well, I'm not most beings." Over the next few days, Jake visited Zara often. He brought her coffee and human food to try. He also brought something she had never experienced before: conversation. They talked about everything from star patterns to the strange customs of different alien species. Jake told her about Earth and his family there. He had grown up in a small town where everyone knew everyone else's business. He had never felt like he fit in there, so he had signed up for work in space to see the galaxy. "Sometimes I think about going home," he said, "but then I remember how small everything felt there. How limited." Zara understood that feeling. She had never fit in anywhere either. On the fourth day, Jake brought her something new. It was a small device that played human music. He showed her how to use it and left it with her. "Music helps when you're feeling alone," he said. That night, Zara listened to the human songs and felt something she had not felt in years. She felt like someone cared about her well-being. Someone had noticed that she might be lonely and had tried to help. When she returned to work a week later, Zara found that word of her unusual immunity had spread around the station. Scientists wanted to study her. Government officials wanted to meet with her. Suddenly, everyone who had ignored her before was interested in the special Veltaran. But Jake was different. He still visited her just to talk. He still brought her coffee and treated her like a friend instead of a research subject. When other humans on the station asked him why he spent time with an alien, Jake gave them simple answers. "She's good company," he would say, or "She's my friend." Zara had never had a friend before. She was not sure she knew how to be one, but she found herself looking forward to Jake's visits more than anything else in her day. When he was there, she almost forgot that her skin was gray and cracked. She almost forgot that she was the alien no one wanted to touch. One evening, Jake arrived at her office looking upset. He sat down heavily in his usual chair and ran his hands through his hair. "Bad day?" Zara asked. "Commander Stone called me in for a meeting," Jake said. "He wanted to know why I was spending so much time with you. He said some of the other humans were concerned about my behavior." Zara felt her chest tighten. "What did you tell him?" "I told him it was none of his business who I choose to be friends with." Jake looked at her directly. "I also told him that you're one of the most interesting people I've met on this station." Zara could not speak. She had never been called interesting before. "He didn't like that answer," Jake continued. "He warned me about getting too involved with alien customs. Said it could hurt my career." "Maybe you should listen to him," Zara said quietly. "I do not want to cause problems for you." Jake shook his head firmly. "You're not causing problems. Other people's ignorance is causing problems." He leaned forward. "Zara, you're the first real friend I've made out here. I'm not going to let anyone tell me that friendship is wrong." That night, Zara lay awake thinking about friendship and what it meant to belong somewhere. For the first time in her life, she felt like someone truly saw her as valuable, not for what she could do or what she might be useful for, but simply for who she was. She did not know that Jake was lying awake too, thinking about how wrong it was that someone as kind and intelligent as Zara had been treated so badly for so long. He was starting to understand that humans might be different from other species in important ways. They might be the only ones who could see past the surface to find the person underneath. Zaraketh 9 pressed her face against the cold metal wall of her workspace and tried to make herself invisible. The morning shift change was happening outside her door, and she could hear the voices of different alien species talking as they walked past. None of them would look at her if they saw her. None of them would want to look at her. Her skin was gray and cracked like broken stone. Other Veltarans had beautiful skin that changed colors with their emotions, shifting from deep blues when they were calm to bright golds when they were happy. Zara's skin had not changed color in 15 years. It stayed the same dull gray that made other beings turn away in disgust. She touched the datapad on her desk and began her work for the day. Numbers and shipping records filled the screen. This was safe work. Work she could do alone in her small office where no one had to see her. The Nexus station needed someone to track all the cargo that came and went, and Zara was very good with numbers. She was also very good at staying out of sight. The station was huge, spinning slowly around the gas giant below. Thousands of different aliens lived and worked here. There were tall blue Centauri with their proud faces, small quick Zephyrians with their silver scales, and dozens of other species. They all had one thing in common. They all avoided the diseased Veltaran in Section C7. Zara was not diseased. She knew this because the medical scanners had checked her many times. But other aliens did not care about medical facts. They saw her gray, cracked skin and decided she was sick. They decided she was dangerous. They decided she was disgusting. Her door chimed. Zara froze. No one came to see her unless there was a problem with her work. She checked her files quickly, but everything was correct. The door chimed again. "Come in," she said in the station's common language. The door opened and a human walked in. Zara had seen humans before, but never up close. This one was young, with brown hair and kind eyes. He wore the blue uniform of a maintenance worker and carried a tool bag. "Hi there," the human said with a smile. "I'm Jake Martinez from engineering. We got a report that your air recycler is making noise." Zara stared at him. He was looking directly at her face, not at the floor or the wall like other beings did. He was looking at her like she was a normal person. Yes, she managed to say. "It has been making strange sounds for 2 days." Jake nodded and looked around the small office. "Mind if I take a look?" "Should just take a few minutes." Zara moved away from her desk to give him room. She expected him to work quickly and leave like the other repair workers did. Instead, Jake began to hum softly as he opened his tool bag. "Nice setup you have here," he said as he knelt down beside the air recycler. "Very organized. I wish my workshop was this neat." No one had complimented her workspace before. Zara did not know what to say. Jake opened the recycler panel and peered inside. "Ah, I see the problem. Just a loose coupling. Happens all the time with these older units." He reached into his bag and pulled out a small wrench. "You work with shipping. Data?" "Yes," Zara said quietly. "Must be interesting work. I bet you see cargo from all over the galaxy." "I do." Zara found herself talking more than she had in months. "Yesterday, there was a shipment of singing crystals from the Andorian system. The manifest said they only sing when 3 moons are visible." "No kidding?" Jake tightened something inside the recycler and the noise stopped. "I'd love to hear that someday. Andorian crystals are supposed to be amazing." He was still looking at her when he talked. still treating her like her opinions mattered. Zara felt something strange in her chest. It took her a moment to recognize the feeling as happiness. "There we go," Jake said as he closed the panel. "Should run quiet now. If it starts acting up again, just put in another work order." He stood up and packed his tools. Zara expected him to leave quickly now that his job was done. Instead, Jake paused at the door. "I'm Jake, by the way. I know I said that already, but I figured you might want to know who to ask for if you need more repairs. I am Zara Keth 9. Nice to meet you, Zara." Jake smiled again. "See you around." After he left, Zara sat at her desk for a long time without working. She kept thinking about how Jake had looked at her, how he had talked to her like she was worth talking to. She could not remember the last time someone had been kind to her. The next few days passed normally. Zara did her work and stayed in her office. But she found herself hoping that something else would break, so Jake would come back. On the fourth day, her computer terminal started flickering. Zara looked at it for a while, then put in a maintenance request. She told herself it was because she needed the terminal to work properly. She did not admit that she wanted to see the human with the kind eyes again. Jake arrived 2 hours later. This time he brought a small cup of coffee with him. "Thought you might want to try this," he said, setting the cup on her desk. "It's a human drink. Most aliens think it tastes terrible, but I figured you might be curious." Zara stared at the cup. No one had ever brought her anything before. The liquid inside was dark brown and smelled bitter. "It will not harm me?" she asked. "Nah, it's safe for most species. Might taste weird, though." Zara took a small sip. The coffee was bitter and strange, but it was warm. It was the first gift anyone had given her in years. "Thank you," she said. Jake began working on her terminal. This time, he talked more, telling her about his home on Earth and why he had come to work on Nexus Station. Zara found herself asking questions and even sharing a few stories about the strange cargo that passed through the station. When Jake finished fixing the terminal, he did not leave right away. He sat in the chair across from her desk and finished his own coffee. "Can I ask you something?" he said. Zara tensed. This was when he would ask about her skin, about why she looked different from other Veltarans, about what was wrong with her. "Everyone around here seems to avoid you," Jake said. "I don't understand why. You seem perfectly nice to me." Zara looked down at her hands. The gray skin looked even duller under the office lights. "My people are known for beautiful skin that changes colors," she said quietly. "Mine has been like this since I was young. Others find it disturbing." Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "That's their problem, not yours." Zara looked up in surprise. "I mean it," Jake said. "There's nothing wrong with you. Some people just can't see past the surface." He stood up and gathered his tools. "I'll see you around, Zara." After he left, Zara sat in her chair and cried. She had not cried in years, but Jake's simple kindness had broken something loose inside her. For the first time in 15 years, someone had looked at her and seen a person worth knowing. She did not know that her life was about to change forever. She did not know that the kind human who brought her coffee would soon risk everything to save her. All she knew was that for a few minutes she had not felt alone.